The CDDA challenge is one of the hardest game modes in Project Zomboid, and with the release of Build 42, it has completely overhauled how the whole challenge works. Previous places and strategies that once worked no longer work in the new update. You may think that it's impossible to beat it without spending the majority of your points on the traits that improve strength and fitness, but in this guide, I'll show you how to tilt the odds in your favor, even if your character has some of the worst traits. Furthermore, I'll go in depth on what traits to get and what locations to go to and avoid. Without further ado, here's how to beat the CDDA challenge in Project Zomboid. In the occupation and trait selection, the occupation you should pick for your character is Park Ranger. Park Ranger is one of the best occupations for CDDA. You get a bunch of useful skills and XP boost, which is useful for surviving out in the wilderness. This includes moving 75% faster through forests, +1 in Axe with 75% XP boost, +1 in Carpentry with 75% XP boost, +2 in Foraging with 125% XP boost, +2 in Trapping with 125% XP boost, increased foraging range, resistance to weather while foraging, and increased chances of finding wild plants like berries while foraging in forest. In the trait selection for positive traits, get Cat's Eyes, Dexterous, Outdoorsy, Wakeful, Adrenaline Junkie, Organized, Fast Learner, Hiker, Keen Hearing, and Wilderness Knowledge. I'll start off with explaining each of the positive traits. Cat's Eyes gives you 20% better vision at night. Dexterous gets you 30% faster inventory transfer speeds, critical to getting loot quickly at the start. Outdoorsy reduces your chances of getting a cold to 10%, and it reduces your chances of getting scratched by trees to 1.25%, amazing for traversing the cold wilderness without disruption. Wakeful reduces your rate of fatigue by 30% and increases your sleep efficiency by 10%, giving you extra time for the day. Adrenaline Junkie is almost overpowered, as when you get strong or extreme panic, your movement speed increases by 20 to 25%, which makes a massive difference, especially if you have a leg injury. Organized increases container space by 30%, useful for carrying more stuff in a backpack. Fast Learner increases XP gains by 30%, which hastens leveling up. Hiker gives you +1 in Foraging, +1 in Trapping, and increases foraging range with resistance to weather while foraging. Keen Hearing increases your hearing radius by 200%, good for spotting those zombies trying to sneak behind you. Wilderness Knowledge gives you +1 in Carving, +1 in Foraging, +1 in Napping, +1 in Maintenance, the ability to craft medicines, potencies, and the knowledge to make simple stone and bone tools, and it increases your foraging range and gives you minor boosts to finding wilderness items. Finally, with all these traits, you get +1 to Knapping with 75% XP boost, +1 to Carving with 75% XP boost, +2 for Foraging, +1 to Knapping with 75% XP boost, +1 to Maintenance with 75% XP boost, and +2 for Trapping. Alternatively, you could replace the Organized trait with Speed Demon and Vehicle Knowledge, or Low Thirst and Inventive, or Mason and Artisan, or Angler, or Nutritionist, depending on what your preferences are. For the negative traits, get Clumsy, Fast Metabolism, Short-Sighted, Slow Reader, Slow Healer, Weak Stomach, Conspicuous, Hearty Appetite, Prone to Illness, Out of Shape, Weak, and Thin-Skinned. I'll start off with explaining each of the negative traits. Clumsy increases the noise you make while moving by 20%. Fast Metabolism, your weight starts off at 70 instead of the base of 80. It makes it harder to gain weight and decreases your fitness by 1 point. Short-Sighted makes your outer vision blurry and decreases your foraging range. Both of these can be negated by just wearing prescription glasses. Slow Reader decreases your reading speed by 30%, which is no big deal as you can fast forward while reading. Slow Healer increases the amount of time it takes to heal from an injury, depending on the severity of said injury. Weak Stomach doubles your chances of getting food illness Best avoid any rotten food if you can. Conspicuous doubles your chances of getting spotted by zombies. Hearty appetite increases hunger by 50%, yet it strangely gives you a small foraging boost to finding food-related items. Prone to illness increases your chances of getting a cold, increases cold strength, and it increases the rate of cold progression. Outdoorsy somewhat negates the chances of getting a cold, but it is better to wear adequate clothing to completely avoid this. It also increases the rate of zombification, and the solution for this is pretty simple. Don't get scratched or bit. Out of shape gives you -2 in fitness, increases your endurance loss by 15%, decreases your endurance regeneration by 20%, slows down your attack speed, increases your chances of tripping, and makes it harder to climb tall fences. You can get rid of this by leveling up through regular exercise. Weak gives you -2 in strength, which reduces your carrying capacity to 9 and reduces your melee combat effectiveness by 10%. You can get rid of this by leveling up through regular exercise. Thin skin makes you 15 to 30% more likely to be injured by a zombie bite, depending on what weapon you have. It also gives you a 33% chance to damage clothes while moving through trees. Finally, the amount of skills you're left with are 1 in axe, 1 in carpentry, 1 in carving, 2 in fitness, 4 in foraging, 1 in napping, 1 in maintenance, 3 in strength, and 3 in trapping. You might wonder why I put so many levels into foraging, and there's a very good reason for doing so. At level 4 foraging, you're able to find rose hips. Rose hips have one of the highest calories for fruit you can find while foraging. Rose hips average 50 to 150 calories, which if you find enough, you can potentially stave off weight loss and maybe gain some weight. The best part about rose hips is they don't go stale or rot, making them a good, non-perishable food. Now let's dive into the locations. When you begin in CDDA, your starting point is this house in Muldraugh. When you spawn here, you'll immediately be surrounded by fire. Fire is the first obstacle you encounter when you start in CDDA. The spread and intensity of the fire are different every time you generate a new world. You'll need to be cautious, as you can easily catch on fire if you're not careful. Also, the sound of the fire is very good at attracting zombies. Outside of the house, it's the beginning of winter, which makes it particularly challenging in CDDA. What's more is the cold will cause hypothermia over time, slowly draining your health until you ultimately perish. The weather is also very unpredictable and becomes a major factor in determining a successful run. Ideally, you'll want the outside temperature to be at least 40 degrees Fahrenheit. If it's any colder than that, or if there's a wind chill, you're likely to perish without adequate clothing. In the surrounding area, the zombie population is set to insane, and their traits vary. Some of the zombies move fast like shamblers, while others have a much slower movement speeds. Some zombies possess enhanced hearing, which if you have a cold, the sneezing will attract them. Additionally, the loot rarity is set to insanely rare, which makes foraging for food and resources extremely important. You might wonder, why not head to the farmhouse north of Muldraugh? The farmhouse used to be the go-to safe house in Build 41, but in Build 42, it's no longer a safe option. The surrounding area of the farmhouse has a zombie population of at least 50, if not more. Perhaps you're considering the cabin east of the farmhouse, or the fenced-off house south of it. Both of these locations are plagued by large numbers of zombies as well. Another location you might think of is the cabin with the well. Don't even consider moving there, it's swarming with zombies. Honestly, I'm not sure what the developers were thinking when they were working on the zombie distribution in that area. While these locations are inviolable due to massive zombie populations, there is one cabin in the woods that offers some hope. This cabin has no zombies, or at least a manageable amount, and it features 2 sinks with fresh, untainted water and a decent amount of loot, and a wood stove to keep you warm at night. However, reaching this cabin isn't very straightforward. I'll provide further details on how to navigate to this location. When you begin your first day, pause for a moment to check your surroundings. Search the cabinets for any food or useful items. If you find any containers, fill them immediately with water. If there are any curtains, grab them quickly and move away from the windows. Rip the sheets into rags for bandages, and make sure to keep an eye out for any zombies. If you have the time, try to remove the glass shards in your wound. If there isn't any time, just leave the house immediately. As you're leaving the house, make sure to bandage your wound with the rags. Avoid any of the patches of fire and avoid the zombies coming at you. And make sure to make your way to this wooded area. Once you reach the fenced area, eliminate any of the zombies that may have followed you. And if you haven't removed the glass shards by now, do it now. And make sure to wrap your wound up. Lure in one zombie at a time and take them out for their clothing. Keep an eye out for these key items, prescription glasses and a digital watch. Try to gather as many wearable clothes as you can to help you protect against the cold. After securing enough usable clothes, make sure you're not exhausted and find a place to sit and rest. Once rested, move this way through the field while trying to avoid the zombies. Well, only run if it's absolutely necessary to help conserve your energy for the journey ahead. If you haven't found any food, you can forage for berries while you move. When reaching the metal fence, move this way and keep parallel to the houses. Avoid moving through any of the trees and continue moving until you reach the picnic tables. Once you reach the picnic tables, move this way until you reach the parking lot. When you get to the parking lot, start running. Weed through the massive hordes of the zombies and avoid them the best you can. Keep running until you reach the edge of the forest across the road. Continue moving through the forest until you reach this part of the street. Move towards this way until you come across the sun and then head up through the forest while staying parallel to the road. When you reach the McCoy's lumberyard, we'll stay parallel to the parking lot and the buildings. And make sure to keep a decent distance away from there to avoid the zombies. From there, keep moving through the forest while foraging for berries if there's still any sunlight available. Make sure to keep alert as there is zombies hiding in the deep forest. Continue moving through the forest until you reach the valley with the power lines. Move through the valley this direction and cross the road and continue moving until you reach the second pair of pylons from the road. From there, head up until you find the cabin in the woods. Eliminate any zombies in the area, then rest outside of the cabin while you wait for the sun to come up. When you reach the morning, you'll most likely be tired from clearing out all those zombies. Fortunately, the cabin has a nice warm bed to sleep in. Set an alarm to wake up at a different time for when there's still daylight. Upon waking up, clear any of the remaining zombies in the area and start foraging for wood, stone, and berries. If you find a sharp flint flake, use it to create notch planks for starting fires. If you don't have one, you can craft one by using a stone and a flint nodule. To cure your cold, make sure you have enough food to stay well fed and plenty of wood for the wood stove. Start a fire in the wood stove and keep it filled up. Eat as much berries as you can until you're full, and over time, the cold should subside until it's gone. Once your cold is cured, continue foraging, crafting tools like axes, and leveling up skills, chopping down trees for resources like saplings, and looting zombies for rags. You can make a spear by carving a sapling and fire hardening it for increased durability. One resource to collect is hem dogbane. If you collect enough, you can use it to make twine or rope. Occasionally, you may encounter zombies wearing useful gear or carrying bags, or very rarely find one with intact clothes. Use a blunt weapon to eliminate them to avoid damaging their clothes. I almost forgot to mention, Your deep wound will make you unable to fall asleep due to the pain, but over time the pain should subside, and your wound should eventually heal even without stitches. You'll continue foraging, crafting, and surviving every day until the helicopter event passes. Luckily for you, this event only happens once. It can come as early as 3 days, but sometimes it can come as late as 10 days, which happened in my case. Well, once it has passed, I'll show you how to move to the next location. When you're ready to go to the next location, head down into the valley and follow the power lines across the road until you reach the 5th pair of pylons. From there, go up through the field until you reach the military barracks. Clear it out of any of the zombies and check each room for any useful loot. Nearby, there is a tool shed with a good chance of finding useful items, which in my case, I found a wood axe. After clearing out the area, gather all your loot and organize everything into one pile to avoid misplacing it. I would start off with creating spears for clearing out the next area. The next area of interest is the farmhouse down the road. Pick off the zombies one by one until they are all gone, and then consolidate all the loot into trash bags, burlap sacks, or whatever big containers you have for easy transport and organization. This will save you a bunch of time later when you bring the loot to the next location. Final area of interest is this farmhouse. To get there, follow the road and move this way till you get to the gate of the farmhouse. Repeat the same process of clearing it out. Once you clear it out, this place becomes an ideal base. It has a well which provides a good source of water, and the farmhouse offers a lot of loot, which makes it a good place for starting out in CDDA. The last thing to get started on is trapping. Using 2 units of twine and 4 wooden rods, you can create a stick trap which allows you to catch birds with worms. Worms are fairly easier to find compared to other baits, and the calories invested in stick traps offer a far better return than other traps that use baits like cereal or peanut butter. The best place to put stick traps are big open fields. After getting the trap set up, you can continue to clear out zombies from other houses and scavenge them for the resources, continue foraging for foods and materials, and keep doing this until it reaches spring. Once it reaches spring, life gets a little bit easier from there in CDDA. And now that's how you beat the CDDA challenge in Project Zomboid. If you've made it to the end of the video, I hope you enjoyed it. I had a really fun time putting this video together, and I'm hoping to upload regularly on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, or at the very least monthly. If you have any ideas on what I should do for the next video, or what I can do to improve on this video, please let me know in the comments. In closing, if you like this kind of content, click the subscribe button and leave a like. Last of all, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.